Happy Wednesday, everybody. I am Carla Nelson, creator of Black Fashion World Foundation. And tonight I have for you Danny Shaw. all the way live from Vietnam. Danny,
Good,
how you
good morning.
doing?
I'm
Yes, it
good.
is.
I'm good.
Good morning.
Good
It
morning
is
to
good
you.
morning to you. It's 8 p.m. here in the States. And what time is it in Vietnam?
It's Thursday at 7 a.m. on the 29th.
Okay.
Yes.
That's right, because you're 11 hours ahead of us. I want to say 12, but you're 11
hmm
hours ahead of us. Okay. All right.
I
So
tell you.
I'm excited about this conversation. But
Yeah.
you know what? Before I jump into the conversation, did you see that about what I'm doing about the cover model contest for COVID?
Yes. Yes. With you're covering everybody up with artsy flags, and everyone's making a different style of like a different mask. Yeah. 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 We. I took a look at it. I see what's going on. See, I can't submit. I can't. Unfortunately, I can't submit it because I can make about 1,000 flags in a week and flood the contest. I try to make.
Okay.
I
Okay,
try to
look
make
at
the odds
you.
better. I try to increase my odds.
Uh, See, you can only submit one. But one
Oh,
person who submits a fashion mask on a model, has to be on a model, will win the opportunity, will be selected as the person who will be the cover model for our COVID mask collectible coffee table book. I
oh,
mean,
dope.
it's unparalleled. I mean, it's crazy time that we're going through, but at the same time, it is a historic time. So we're going to
Yeah.
make a coffee table book to capture some of those reflections and those moments, and we'll put it all together in a book, almost like a time capsule thing for people to read in years, decades, and centuries to come. But with
Oh,
that
I'm definitely
said,
gonna send an entry in. I'll definitely send one. In. I'm definitely gonna
hey,
send
it's
one in.
international. It is international. So anybody
That's separate.
international can submit the entry. We're launching it on Friday. So
Nice.
everybody should go back to a couple of things to finish up. I've got some things from legal. So we're finishing up on Friday. And then the contest will be open. So everybody's chance to be a cover model. But with that
Okay.
said, for anybody, joining us, we will see this later. We want to talk about you, your background. You are a veteran in the fashion industry. I think you got what, 30 years?
Almost 30 years in
Almost
this
30 years?
in
Okay.
shoes and clothes. Almost 30 years since 1991, something like that, if I remember correctly.
Wow. So you studied, if I understand correctly, you studied fashion. You started out studying fashion under April Walker. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes. Well, I
Okay.
went to school for a whole different thing. I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and then after that, I went to NYU. And when I happened to meet April, she needed an assistant back then, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I said, you know what? Whatever you need me to do, sweep the floor, go to the store, whatever it is. And what I did was I was fortunate enough, working with her, is that she knew everybody from like Jay-Z lived around the corner, Biggie lived around the corner, Tretch would come over to her house periodically, the rest of Naughty by Nature. Like every day it was like watching a premiere in her house. Because the type of, Jam Master Jay walking in the living room, Tupac
Mm.
coming in the house, like going to outfit Snoop Dogg. So I had a real trial by fire when I was young to be able to be in front of like what are considered icons right now and have casual conversations, outfit them, understand the dynamics of business and that most of these celebrities and these guys, they ain't paying you no money. You gotta go out there and really, really get out there and pound the pavement for them to see you. So I learned that really early on that, these guys are just like everybody else. They just have a lot more exposure. And before the internet made you famous, you just had to go where they were. So, she would
Mm.
send me all over the place to go stand in front of trailers and wait in front of green rooms and hand
Oh,
hockey jerseys. But, these products that she made wind up on some of the biggest platforms in the world. So, if you look at Saturday Night Live with Tupac when he did that famous performance, that's Walkerwear. When you seen Snoop Dogg do the Radio City Hall performance, that's Walkerwear. And Mike Tyson wearing Walkerwear in the ring to fight Lennox Lewis. Like the list goes on and on and on. Every single movie you got, everybody from Aaliyah rocking Walkerwear on her cover. So we had exposure to so much opportunity We did understand how to monetize it, but there's the fashion part of it, and that was the cute part. And fast forward to now, I learned the business of fashion. So all of the
Right.
cups and glory are cool, but you can't eat those. So you
Right.
have to figure out how to, what is your CMT, which is cut, make, and trim costs? What's your overhead for shipping? What's your logistics? How fast can you get it there? What is your direct line to the factory, whether you're producing an outsole or you're cutting fabric for a dress? So you
Right.
have to, take all of these things into consideration. Then you charge your price and you go out there and you sit with your price. Depending on the questions that come, I'm sure the conversation is going to sway a lot of different areas. But I'm one of those big mouth people that say a lot of stuff, and I'm only factual with what I know. So I know a lot about this fashion business, and I watch people. One of the reasons that I live in Asia is simply because I had a guy charge me $9 for T-shirts, and even at $9 back then, we were making money. But I was asking myself, okay, if he get it for 9, how much can I get it for? And
Right.
that one question led me to the next guy who's had 10,000 pieces in his office, where he get them for $4. And I say, well, if he got them for 4, where can I get them for what he get them for? And all of those, me just keep questioning myself and being willing to take a chance. Like, I didn't speak Mandarin, when I first started coming out here, but I got a good amount of survival Chinese down now. And you take a chance on life. Like, I didn't know if I
Right.
would like the food. Now there's Starbucks everywhere. So
Right.
the
And so we're gonna talk about that because see, Danny, you run. We're gonna give him a piece of
yeah.
that time.
Okay.
Because I wanted to also hit on the fact you work with April Walker, but you also work with Russell Simmons too, right?
I worked with Maurice Malone. I worked with Russell Simmons. So after April, I went out to Detroit and I worked with Maurice Malone on his brand. And I used to live in the back of the hip hop shop on a pile of T-shirts. And Proof was my bunkmate because he lived on the other pile. And we would sit there and, eat in the store, work in the store, sit on 7 Mile all night. And on Sundays, they would have those rap contests where we would meet people like D12, Eminem, and, obviously Proof, and them are best friends. And I also learned the Maurice's, Maurice's strength in the business was the fact that he is a meticulous designer. He's in Brooklyn now, and he has a shop down in Williamsburg, and he still does some of the best denim that you've ever seen in life because he knows stitch details like no one else. He knows cut details. I watched that man work, and he also gave me a work ethic the same way as April. April was the award show part of the business, where Maurice showed me the technical aspect of everything, how to cut something to make it fit your body perfectly, how to do certain things. And then he graduated just by the putting in the work. He graduated to the celebrities and them knowing him, and he jumped into the same arena as in April. So I had the pleasure of working with him. And because I work with so many of these guys, it's a small circle. I ran up on Russell, and I worked with Russell, I'd say on and off for over 5-6 years. Like, we're still friends to this day, stuff like that. But I got into the business of, like, Russell was different. Russell don't draw. Russell didn't fucking sit there and tell you, about the quality of garment and blah, blah, blah. Russell talked about the numbers only. He was a numbers guy. So Russell said, okay, I can make money doing this. And I would watch Russell, and Russell would ask me things like, go down to people's offices that were his licensees. And at the time, I didn't understand licensor versus licensee. And I became one of Russell's go-to people for licensing. So I would introduce him to his footwear connection, some of his apparel connection, because his brand at the time had so many legs. You could make Fat Farm luggage, you could make baby fat handbags, you could make colognes, perfumes. In the licensing business, especially with Black brands, a lot of people didn't think that they were licensing a bowl. And Russell was the first person to achieve almost full saturation with his brand because Fat Farm and Baby Fat had everything from footwear to headwear, everything in between. So that showed me my yin yang. Now, all of those things mixed into each other are three different styles of person that I was able to learn from in a short amount of years. And I took that information and I started utilizing it for my own brand and just doing my own licensing. So, after that, I licensed like Coca Cola and Pepsi, and I licensed race cars, and I've licensed so many different products, and done licensing deals for these people that I understood that part of the business. I was the first person to ever license Coca Cola after Tommy Hilfiger. Tommy Hilfiger was a Coca Cola designer back when Heavy D was wearing the Coca Cola rugbies, and I was the guy that came right behind him. And several years later, and reintroduced that product back into the market, because I knew it had viability. And then, we worked that project, and I was in some of the greatest stores and blah blah blah. And me and Coca Cola have a great relationship to this day. I put Tyson Beckford in it. I made it a brand, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, during
Like I said,
yeah,
you
go
are
ahead.
a veteran.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I've
so
been doing this so long. I don't even know how how
we
how
need
I
to
got so many.
I need to sit down one day and just pick your brain and bring a lot of people along with me so we can pick your brain. But now
Oh,
this
for
is the
sure.
thing. If I understand correctly, for the last 5 years, 5 years you've been living in Vietnam, manufacturing. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Ooh, Danny, am I losing you?
I've been living in Maine, China. I've been living in Maine and China. I just recently, because of Corona, I moved to Vietnam and stay. I've been here for
Okay.
7 months because Vietnam is the sister manufacturing country of China. So China is China. China is huge. China is a very big place, and you can manufacture everything. So, one day I literally I was flying back and forth to China maybe once every 3 months. And, when you're in your 50s, you don't really want to take that ride all the time. Sometimes by the time you sit down, you got to go back and readjust. So I came out here and I started working with, I was at the time, I'm doing a footwear project that I launched with several rappers and a couple other people. And I came out here to deal with the brand. And when I got out here, I said, you know what? I'm spending, upwards of $3,000 to $5,000 on the small side to run out here, take a hotel, stay out here for 15 days, try my best to make a relationship with the factory, and then I leave. I said you can't make a long distance relationship, with a factory. You have to be on the ground. So I just made a decision that, what, let me try to stay over here as long as I can and see if I can handle it. And little by
Okay.
little, I started realizing, simple things like there's a Starbucks, there's an Italian restaurant, there's a lot of different things that you just have to search a little more. We get comfortable being on the east, or in the east. We get comfortable being there, and we think it's unfathomable to just jump on a plane, go to Hong Kong, jump on another plane, and be in the mainland.
Yeah.
And those.
So so with that said, because I know there's a lot of things that you have to consider with offshore manufacturing. So let's kind of like, if we can get
Oh yeah,
you to give us like a overview tonight, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit like certain areas, and if you'll tell it, and financial, of course, is always one of them, but I feel like most of these roll right up into the financial piece. So I'm going to hit a couple of them, and if you'll give
90.
us like an overview. So when you're thinking
Okay.
offshore manufacturing, legal and governmental, what type of considerations should people have in mind if they think that they want to manufacture their product offshore when it comes to legal parameters
Oh,
and governmental, all in the
well,
same?
it'll probably be easier to walk you through a bullet point on how to make a product. So let's just take a shoe, for example. From the time
Okay.
you put your pretty shoe on a pretty sketch and you have it, and you say, this is the shoe I'm going to make. The first thing you have to think about is, okay, how many of these am I going to be able to sell? Right? So when you say I call it MTF, my 10 friends. So after your 10 friends say you're the greatest thing you've ever thought you were, the 11th person and then on you have to sell that product to. So now you have to count minus 10 people because your grandmother is definitely going to support you. Your aunt is going to support you. Your cousins are going to support you. Everybody's going to support you up to that 11th person. So now you have this pretty shoe and you go from 11 until infinity. How many people can I sell this particular product to? So now if you're, let's just say if you're famous, and I can always use myself for an example because I screwed up exactly the way I'm about to tell you. So I don't think, and I'm sorry if we got kids in here, but I didn't think my shit stung. So I decided that I was going to make 4,000 pair of the coolest shoe because I know I could run into the market and I can make an explosion at $100 a pair. So I make 4,000 pair because in my mind, I'm going to make $400,000. So now when you go to the manufacturer and say, okay, how many pair do you want? I need 1,000 pair of this shoe in each color. And that's because I can make 4,000 pair of one color, but it's hard to sell one color. So you can make one outsole and you can turn it into 6 or 7 different uppers. So now I put the uppers on. I have 4 or 5 different colors. I go out to, the retail stores and all of my friends and I show it to all of them. And that shoe cost me to manufacture, which means build the outsole. So each component of that particular shoe has to be built. Someone has to create the mold. So now you have to go to the mold plant. And the mold plant is going to tell you, okay, based on what you said, your mold is going to cost you $3. Now, $3, you need to buy 10,000 units in order to make your mold cost be zero. It's a little intricate, but it's not as complicated. So you want to know the top line. So if you buy 4,000 pair, you want to go to the manufacturer and say, okay, how much would it be for me to make 4,000 pairs of these? And you figure out your size scale. You just know 4,000 pair. Be in the macro right now. So 4,000 pair. You go to the manufacturer and he says, okay, I'll charge you $15 a pair. So now you're going, whoopee, whoopee. You figure you got about $60,000 in overhead for your shoe to be made, $60,000 to $70,000. But you're looking at you're going to make $100. So you got 400,000 on your gross line if you sell everything, and you got 60,000 on your this is what it cost me line. Now you got maybe $340,000 or $350,000 in profit in your mind. What you didn't understand is that there's a difference between what they call LDP and FOB. FOB in very simple terms means freight on board. So that means when you finish in the warehouse, they throw your goods out of their door and the rest is on you. Landed duty paid means you pay a little extra and they will send it to wherever you want it to go to. So there might be $2 extra in a LDP price versus an FOB price. But that goes down to how much you know about logistics. And we'll get to that part of the equation because that $15.
So manufacturing overseas, offshore like you're doing, what's the differential, in those costs that you were just talking about?
Well, one in the United States, it would cost almost triple to do what you're going to do if you can even find it because of what, the United States has done to manufacturing over there. Just look at labor. Just the labor alone, what's the minimum wage in the United States right now? $15?
For some people, they're still trying to get it there.
Right.
So,
Okay.
Labor costs, we know that labor costs overseas are definitely less expensive. So when you're, and this is a question too. So is this one, all of the different considerations, because people can get charged with operating a sweatshop, for labor.
Right.
You can get caught up in a situation where with raw materials, they're talking about you're putting animals in your product. The quality can be off. Are those all reasons that additional reasons why you decided to move? Because you're watching everything.
Yeah, I uprooted the whole thing and just started going, But the what I seen over here is that our definition of what's right and wrong is totally not we're not the end all be all. So I've been to factories that have 5,000 workers and they have every bit of compliance from RA certificates for Europe all the way down to the CDC certificates for the United States. Like whatever it is that's necessary, that's needed, I've been to those factories. Now, at the other side of it, I've also been to what we call mom and pop shops, which is the equivalent of having a bodega. But the entire family, aunts, uncles, cousins, and everybody else that's involved have a part in making that family business work. Now, are there kids on sewing machines using it? No, no,
Mm.
because that takes a skill. That takes years and years of skills just to understand how to manufacture at that rate. So you're going to find people that are in not authorized factories, but what most people don't know is they're subcontractors for some of the biggest factories simply because a factory will take all of your work and you can go there and sit there and see the pretty building with all the certificates on there. But the minute you walk out of that door, they take your project and they subcontract it to someone else that could do it quicker and faster and save them the headache. And they just keep the bottom line and retain the customer. So
Mhm.
you can't, the propaganda part is saying there are kids in the factory. Of course, there's kids in the factory. This family lives in the entire building. So the upstairs is the apartment or the house, the upstairs 2 or 3 floors, and downstairs in the front would be I've been in factories out here where there's 7 sewing machines down there and there's thousands of pieces being made because they pay by the unit. So in China
Mhm.
and in Asian labor, they pay by the output. So you have to output, say, 100 meters or 1,000 meters of fabric to make your goal. And the people that take this job on say, you know what? If I put 1,000 meters out within a week, I can make 4,000 USD for everything. Maybe it's not a lot, but they look at it and say, okay, if I'm done with this by today, then tomorrow I can take this new job on, and every other day 4,000 is coming in, and our cost in Vietnam, for instance, is not as high as the U.S. cost. So we're actually in a year we can open a bigger factory, and then we can own another building, and then we can grow our business from 0 to 1,000 real quick. No pun intended, but that's how it works out here. And I'm privileged and blessed to know this because I had the same information based on what the United States was telling me as opposed to seeing it for myself. So
Mhm.
no one's being subjugated. Your feet aren't being binded out here. Labor is exactly what it is. They still go to some of the best restaurants. They live in some better houses than we do in the United States. They just know how to monetize our American need to consume product. They know how to
Mhm.
monetize, and that's just the give and take.
Yeah. So when people are talking about or thinking about um offshore, having their apparel or footwear manufactured offshore, at what point does a fashionpreneur need to be in their career before they make that move to have their product manufactured out of the US?
The first minute you get the inkling, I mean, I've been going for almost 30 years now, flying back and forth. And like I said, I've been living for 5. The minute that you feel comfortable enough that you can be in a room by yourself and not lose your mind, get up and leave. You know why? Because it'll every day it cuts down on the naysayers and it gives you more confidence. I recommend that everyone, the minute you believe that you want to be that designer or the person that you're talking about, go to the source, because your friend's going to say, nah, you can't do it, and nah, and you need to do this, and you need to do it. You're going to have a lot of white noise around you, and you have a goal. But if you believe in yourself and you can afford it, and when I say afford it, I'm not talking about 20 grand every time you come over here. You can get on a plane to Hong Kong for as low as $500. And from Hong Kong, you can get your visa for mainland China. You can go to some of these. There are people online who give tours that bring you out and you say, okay, this is my expertise. I would like to make dresses. I would like to make hats. There's guys that sponsor tours that will take you out on outings for 3, 5 days that you can sign up with, and they'll introduce you to factory direct contacts. They'll walk you through the process, and this could be as low as $500 to pay them. I would pay anyone $500 to teach me a class and be able to go to that class in the middle of where it's happening at. I would give anybody that.
Hmm.
I know people that do it, and you go online and you can see it. I would love to do that, but I'm just hella busy, so I can't do that right now. But there are people out here that just do tours and show you, like, maybe you want to buy hair extensions and weaves. There's a whole area that just sells that, and there are people that will show you that. You want to
Wow.
buy furniture, like anything you want to be an entrepreneur. Like, I'm not just talking fashion, it's
Right.
anything
It goes
related
together.
to
Goes together.
88% of everything is manufactured here. So that you can go to one part of town and see, everything you've ever wanted to know about construction equipment. And you can spend your day there, your month there, and you can meet and get some of the best connections that you've ever had. And you don't have to deal with, the American system of, like I always attribute this, on the hood side to American gangster, but without the drugs. I don't need
I'm
to do
calling
to
you
bring.
Frank Lucas. I'm calling you Frank Lucas.
I don't need.
Talking about that, what do people need to be, the customs process as far as actually exporting that good from there to
Well,
here? What do they need to be considered? What do they need to be concerned with?
well, you have to. Okay, I always tell everyone up until you sell 100 units, just 100 units, DHL becomes your best friend. So now DHL, they were built off of being overseas couriers, unlike FedEx and UPS. DHL literally built its business model from flying goods from Asia to the United States as fast as they can get there. So if you can get you a manufacturer that can manufacture you 100 items, you can use DHL, and your prices will be relative to, um, let's just say you'll pay $20 extra to have it shipped from DHL as opposed like to the US. So in the US, you got to cost you $10 to ship it somewhere. DHL costs you 20 extra, costs $30 in shipping. The dress costs you $40 to manufacture. You just pay $70 to have it shipped from overseas. But if it's a great dress, you're charging $250. You made your money. You know what I mean? You made your money there. Now, when you get to 500 units, 1,000 units, you have to have a relationship with a customs broker or understand the process of filling out your customs paperwork and which lines are you on, because they tax it. And unfortunately, in the United States right now, China is having a trade war. So the trade war is tacking on 25% more to your goods. So in layman's terms, a dollar is now $1.25 plus whatever it costs in actual tariffs and fees. So it may be $1.25 plus another 14%, which is $1.75, $1.85. So you almost pay $2 in taxes just coming out of China. Whereas Vietnam, if it's a dollar in Vietnam, it's only $1.13 all the way through, because the rate is 13% from Vietnam, because we have an agreement with America from the days of the war. We tried to rebuild the country, so we
Mm.
bring, we give them certain concessions. China, we're trying to take those things away. We had zero tariffs at one point, and then, with the president guy in office, he put the 25% tariff on immediately, and he almost destroyed the cost of manufacturing, because China is now increasing their prices, and that's the first time that I was even cognitive of the president of the United States affecting my bottom line, because I had, I think, 15,000 units, what we call on the water, on a boat on the way to the United States, and by the time they landed, the price was 25% higher because he raised the tariffs during that 30-day period that they were on the water. And I lost money because I couldn't afford to pay 25% more, because all of the goods that were in there weren't even sold yet. So I couldn't even afford to pay 25% on top of me not even making money off of. So I had to let it, I had to make an executive decision and lose my goods because I was losing, customs doesn't care who you are. They just want their money.
Mm-hmm.
And that you have a certain amount of time before you start paying more and more, and then the goods aren't worth. It could not be worth it to you, especially in a time like back, in the Trump beginning days, that the goods they weren't worth it anymore. So because the
Mm-hmm.
manufacturers and the buyers understand that things are going on, and they're asking for steeper discounts. So it becomes what you call volunteer work if you weren't prepared for it. And I wasn't prepared for it, so I had to be prepared to lose whatever I spent buying those units. So I chalked it up as a loss.
So
So you
now,
have to be
Danny,
confident.
go ahead. You're there. You're watching your product being produced every day. But for
Yes, every
someone
step of the way.
who is not there, how do they maintain the quality of their product? What are
Well,
some
it comes with the first trip. Like, you can do everything you can on Skype now and social media now to talk directly to your manufacturer in the manufacturing plant. But if you don't know what 87% polyester with 13% spandex lycra brushed means in the United States, you're not going to understand it when it's on the screen over there. So if you know the fabric content that you want, you can go step by step. That process is arduous. It costs a lot more because they're FedExing and DHLing you fabric swatches, but each time they send it to you, it costs you $30 just to touch something. So if you're an expert on the quality of the fabric that you want, you can send them a swatch of the fabric and have them directly find that fabric for you, and you can maintain it. It takes longer, or you take that trip out in the beginning and you find the product. So like, I'm doing another project right now with apparel, and it's a small manufacturing group that I'm working with. So instead of me putting the onus on them to find me the fabrics, I go to the fabric market myself and I buy the fabrics. Because if I buy the fabrics and I'm wrong, I bought them. If I'm right, I bought them. So I don't let the manufacturer buy it for me, and it saves me money and it educates me on the nuances of buying fabric. So when I walk in and I say, I want this, or I'm touching this, and I take a swatch back to my manufacturer with the source card. I say, buy this from them because I already know the square meter price. So by the time I get back to my manufacturer, the only thing they're doing for me is cutting it and making
mm,
it in. I know I buy my own fabric. I have trucks of it dropped off where I buy 1,000 meters because I can have it lab dipped. And when you own the fabric, you can only print money. If you think
mm,
about it like that, don't think about the garment. Own the roll of fabric and say, okay, I have 1,000 meters and I want $70 per meter for every time I put a piece of this fabric. I cut a piece of this fabric. I want it. And now you scale back out of 4,000 meters or 10,000 meters, and you can count your money. So the end game is for any builder or manufacturer to take their yardage and monetize their yardage. How much fabric am I buying? And that
mm.
fabric has to be cut into money. So I only cut fabric into money. If it's shirts that's moving, I'll do it. If you want to make hammer pants out of the fabric, great, let's do it. It doesn't matter what you want to do. I count the rolls of fabric now.
Okay. So other than the obvious, the cost,
Uh-huh.
what are more of the pros and cons of manufacturing apparel and footwear offshore?
Well, the quick pros are the costs are cheaper. The exposure of your brand becomes better because the quality of your goods, bar none, Asia is going to give you, unless you're into bespoke items, customized, tailored shirts, bespoke stuff. Asia is going to give you the best bang for your buck. The con with it is that, and unless you know the nuances, like I said, you're stuck behind people that'll tell you, okay, I want 1,200 units. So it's discouraging because you might not know how to move 1,200 units. But there's a way to, I wouldn't talk to anyone that just wants 100 units because you're not investing in yourself. what I try to tell people who want to come overseas and start working is, listen, figure out where you can put 500 pieces and now times that by 1 year. And you got to do it 4 times to 5 times a year. So that means you have to invest in 2,500 pieces ongoing. Now, if you're not ready to do that and you're talking to me about 10 t-shirts and 12 t-shirts, you're lying to yourself about being in the business, because there's a business part attached to the cute t-shirt and the great shoe is just one part of it. You have to be prepared to put it into the market and make sure it sells through. So if you're playing on that level, then we can talk, because I can help you get to that 24 pieces per box. It has to be labeled this way. The manufacturing information has to be on here. I can get you right, but you have to be willing to more invest in yourself. You can't be a rocket science and not go to school for it. You know what I mean? You got to invest in some of the tools. So, I tell people, how are you going to sell and you don't have inventory? Buy one of everything and then buy something else and keep buying something else until you believe. And when you have 5,000 pieces sitting in your living room, the urgency to get rid of it is way different than having 12 scarves that you took a chance on and you got to go to work later. So you don't have time to go sell it. You know what I mean? You have to have an urgency to move it in order for it to be a concern, or you're not a whatever you want to be. Can't be a race car driver and you're not out there practicing. It doesn't work that way. You got to go put the work in. So you saying, yo, son, I want to make a t-shirt line. I'm gonna walk you through the process from the minute I say, well, what is your logo, all the way to, well, how many pieces do you want to buy and what's your budget? Now, if you start telling me, yo, well, I don't know how to, all right, well, call me back when you start knowing, because the not knowing part is not important to me.
So when people want to approach you about producing product offshore, what type of product are you producing offshore, and how should they approach you? How should they pitch you?
Well, I'm not a pitch at that point. If you want to make apparel or footwear with me, you have to tell me your dream, because I can't do your dream for you. Your dream is just that. It's your dream. So what I'm looking for is someone to say, okay, I have my brand here. I have my brand right here now, and I want to take it from here to here. When you say here, it could be I'm selling 20 t-shirts out of my trunk every other day. I'm watching you put the effort in at that point. You understand what I'm saying? So now when you put the effort in, then I could say, okay, you have a budget of $2,000 and you're only making t-shirts. Let me take 1,000 of your $2,000 and buy you 40 sweatshirts and put an index print. Excuse me, I'm on my office, which is a balcony outside my house, so you can hear a little bit of construction. I'm sorry, everybody.
That's Saigon, Vietnam.
Yeah. This is live at 7 a.m. in Saigon for anybody who wanted to see.
Wow.
Back to the work part, I would rather you say, I want to make 20 hoodies now. Okay, your budget is $2,000. There's no real win for me. I'm going to put you in what I call a boot camp. Okay, so now your $2,000 budget, you're going to have $500 in just shipping costs. So your $500 in shipping is gone. You have $1,500 in manufacturing costs, and I haven't even made a dime. But I don't want to make a dime on that level. If you are already at the level where I can see your moving product and I can see your logo on a few of your friends and it's moving and you're investing in yourself, I can wait, because it takes me the same amount of time to make one sweatshirt as it does to make 10 million. So I can get the information and I can get you to that point, and it won't really cost you anything. I just need to know that you're considering, okay, you send me $2,000, I send you 50 really, really dope t-shirts and hoodies, or whatever we agree to is that's going to be the price. I expect that by the time your goods land, you have another order for the next color, and you have another order for the next color. And that's where I would work with you to move you to the next level. Because if you're buying and you're making goods and it's an ongoing basis, eventually I make money, because I'm starting to get goods moved out of you. And I might not make money with you that day, but at some point I'm going to make money with you, not off you, with you. I never
Mm-hmm.
like, I also have other customers that move 30,000 units into the market every quarter. So we have a different relationship. They pay me to maintain and make sure that their relationship with the factory that either I introduce them to or they introduce me to maintains the quality and the goods that they ask for. So there's several ways to skin a cow, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
And is
So,
it
but it,
what type of apparel and footwear are you manufacturing there?
anything you can think of. I just started making barber bags for a luxury barber company. They want full grain leather barber bags, and it's a very very interesting product, and that's just on the low side. I also have a company I'm making 40,000 shoes for right now, and they're out of Spain. So you can fall into anywhere. Again, it just has to come down to, are you serious about what you're doing? You know what I
Okay.
mean? Are you serious? And then I can help you move to the next step. But if we're just talking about how to do, I always tell it, I'll help you with everything. Just don't waste my fucking time.
So I
Because
have
we
a
only have two
question.
things.
I have a
Yes.
question that, sorry, got distracted. I have a question for you, and I know there's a bit of a delay. So anybody else that has questions that you would like to ask Danny, please go ahead and submit them. But the first
Yeah.
question came in from Paul James, and he
Okay.
says, considering the times we live in, the cultural and political upheavals around Black lives, as well as the effect of fashion on the environment, how can a conscious and progressive Black creative fit fashion into the landscape? I'm gonna see if I can show that, if you can
Yeah,
read
I
it.
can see it. I'm reading the question right now. Yeah, I'm reading it right now. So,
Okay.
considering the times we live in and the culture and all so your question is, how can a conscious and progressive Black creative fit fashion into this landscape? Now, when you put fashion into the landscape, like, you're a creative, so I don't can. A creative can be black, white, tall, gay, straight, old, young. It doesn't matter. Creative is creative. So when you say that, how do you fit into the landscape of COVID? Me looking at the times right now, I would say it's the most creative time to be in, because you have to be alone with your thoughts and think about what you actually want to do and execute it literally by yourself. No one can really touch each other, and so on and so forth. So now, being a creative in this landscape, I'm making a hoodie right now that comes with a matching mask that turns into an elbow pad on a jacket that I'm making. So I'm looking at being creative within this landscape of the new world that we see, where you have to have a mask, or maybe, I consider it as everyone's Muslim now. So now you have to understand what it is to wear a mask, and it has to be the new normal. So it's all right. Now we're all Muslim. We all got burqas on. So now we all have to understand, so fit that into being creative is creative no matter who you are. So fit that into the new landscape, and then you can take black, you can take white, you can take color out of it, because it doesn't matter. What we did realize, and I understand exactly what Paul is saying. What we did realize is that we count in fashion, and we count just as much in everything else. Like, I don't talk bad about other design people or whatever they do, but I look at how to forward our people by action, as opposed to, the guys making those cloth zebra print Adidas based shoes. I don't deal with that type of stuff, because they're telling you about the amount of money they make, but they're not telling you about the amount of money that their parent companies make. So I hone in on that. I don't hone in on the conscious part of what I'm doing is building generational wealth by saying, this is the factory. There's nobody in between you but you and the factory. Now go there and get busy. When you hear certain celebrity design people talk about they have 79 million, $200 million deals with Adidas, they're not in the business aspect. They're not on the business end of it. If Adidas gave you 75 million, guess how much they made? And you only get 10% on the top line for your name to be licensed. And you made the same as Michael Jordan. He made 79 million. Okay, I'll put the name. Kanye West made 79 million. I'm not hating. That's beautiful. I would love 79 million. But I would love 79 million built off my own back. Because if you get 10% of 79 million, you just answered your own question. That's how much Adidas made off of you. And you're saying it. So when you say I made $79 million off of my line last year, that means that they made $790 million off of your line last year. And you could have been the person that ate the 790 million as opposed to the 74. So I never count your pocket. I just don't agree with your philosophy on how to teach the people, again, whether they're black, white, but I specifically talk to my people. Like, I'm doing this shit for black people. I'm from Alabama. Like, I grew up on the southern do for self all the way to the Malcolm part. So I'm doing this because people told me lies all my life about why I couldn't do it. And I don't speak Vietnamese, but I've been here comfortably for 9 months simply because I took my creative and applied that to my business and say, this is how you build generational wealth. Not me running to some guy on 7th Avenue showing him my designs and saying, give me $100,000 to make my idea real. If you're going to make it real for yourself. So I hope I was able to answer that. You know, this is how you fit into the landscape. Go get your shit tied down on that side. I don't care if you make buttons. Make a factory friend that you can rely on and create a relationship that in 20 years you can tell your son or daughter, this is my manufacturing partner for over 20 years. You and his kid now become best friends and y'all move this thing forward. And we're going to sit back and watch y'all do your thing. You know what I mean? And you can do that from the small side all the way up.
Mm-hmm. So, share Paul, that's one of his comments that he shared just now. So, this is a question for you. Anybody working with you, Danny, what can they expect working with you?
The truth. It's going to cost you what it's going to cost you. The truth. The truth, and you better know that I'm going to make 10% off of you. So if you're good with that, then that's what you're going to know. Like, I don't have conversations to praise anyone. I don't care about your brand. You have to care more about your brand than I do because I'm not invested in it. What I need to tell you is this is how you're going to do it. This is what's going to happen if you don't listen to me. This is what's going to happen if you listen to me. Up to you. Take your own advice. So I try to tell people, you know, I never ever tell people the bad thing to do or negative things. I'm going to tell you within your means, can you accomplish what you're telling me? And then after that, I tell you, well, why don't you go this way with it? And I try to steer you because I watched this for 30, 40 years. It's like, you know, if I wanted to be a rapper and I wasn't that great, there's other jobs in the studio to do. You can be a producer, you can punch the buttons, you can write the songs, you can write raps for others. So some people have very good careers in the music business and they not rappers. Ask Puff Daddy. He ended up being all of it, but he's into every aspect of the business. He can sweep the floors of rap music all the way up to the corporate office. So find your space within what you're doing inside of the business, and you might find I've been everything that I've ever seen everybody aspire to. So the reason that I came overseas is because I never seen any black people up into me going overseas. Every time I see a production manager come back, he's either Chinese or he's some white guy, and he sits down and tells me a story about, oh my God, I was doing production for 15 days and we hung out at the bars and we went and seen girls, and they paid this guy $250,000 to just run overseas and look at the stitches on jeans. So I was like, damn, that's an interesting ass job. Let me do that. And I became the production guy where I'm flying over, looking at shoes, looking at things and saying, all right, cool. You know, this is a cool ass job. But what I didn't realize when I learned that part and I started making good money over there is that every time I signed my name and said something was quality for my company, I signed 10 to 15 million dollars in retail profit for my company. So I wasn't mad at it. I was making money, the company making money, but I said to myself, how can I do this for myself? Because I'm flying over here, breaking my body down on this airplane 4 times, 5 times a year, sitting over here. And at the time, the food wasn't as great. You know, I'm over here eating whatever this is for 15, 20 days. And, you know, we're in the middle of the jungle. And how can I do this for myself? And when you start asking yourself, the main thing is to constantly question yourself. And, If you're in a comfortable room, you're in the wrong room. Get the hell out of that room. So I always put myself in uncomfortable positions. Like I said, when I came to China, I don't speak Mandarin. Now, okay, I can have a conversation in Mandarin because I needed to know how to buy water. Shui pinda. Now I know how to walk in the store and say shui pinda. You know why? Because I needed water. So put yourself in uncomfortable situations that make you learn, and you'll have your growth exponentially.
So, Danny, one last question for you. What is, I'll ask it two ways. What is one of the greatest lessons you learned about manufacturing overseas? Or what is one of the main things people should look out for? You know?
You know what's crazy is this. Okay, I've been working with this manufacturer that I'm working with right now for the last 2 months, right? And I talked to several friends, and I said, I have, in 30 years of me doing this, I have never been as free as I am now, because I always had someone in between me and the machine. So in between the machine, when I came out here, I knew a few people that could put me into the right manufacturer, but they were always taking a little bit off of the top when they introduced me to someone and they did their thing. The person that I deal with now turns the machines on in the morning, turns the lights off at night, and we talk about price. In order to get there, and that's pure freedom, that means that everything you negotiate is on you. So from price on, you're talking to the person that will accept the price and get it done from you, and you're the person who can actually hand them the money. And I never ever had that in 30 years, and that is that it's been the pinnacle of my career for the last 30 years. I've never, in the last 2 months, it's the first time that I've ever felt that. And now I'm so happy with it. You know, I'm not rich. I'm wealthy because I have a wealth of information, but it's the first time that I've ever been able to achieve full autonomy with a product. And I'm proud of that, you know, and that's something that my father instilled in me, you know, do for self. You know, I've had people do so much to me, and I've made so many people rich over the years, that it's the first time I feel like no matter what, I can transfer this entire business or whatever business I decide I'm in for that week. I can give it to my kid and let him run with it. And that's a beautiful thing when you can just hand something off that you own 100%. You know, you can hand it to somebody else and say, run with it. You know, I can sell little parts of it to people and take the part and buy it back when I feel like it. You know why? I own the machine. I own the way the machine works, and I make the machine work for me. So that's the beauty. That's right now. That's probably the epic of my whole life. Now the con to it is that you have to be right. You have to get used to the pain. Get used to the I can't go home. Who knew Corona was going to happen? So now on top of the last 7 months of me not being home, I had a forced vacation of the last 8 months because. So I haven't been home. I haven't been to the United States, and that's when I say home, I mean the USA. I haven't been home in almost 2 years. So is it sad? Yes, I have kids. I got people that love me on the ground. I got friends. I have a whole host of things. But if you have to be okay with the sadness of knowing I got to figure this out, and it's my cross to bear right now. So that's my only sadness. But there's a solace in that. You know, you get to love people more when you know you can't touch them. So I don't worry about that part. You know what I mean? You get to love them more, and you get to show them more when you can't touch them, when you can't. And we all learn that. You know, that's what Corona's teaching us. The ones that count will stay. The ones that don't count fall by the wayside, and you move forward. And you find new ones that move forward with you. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. So, you know,
well, Danny,
my story. I'm sticking to
that's
it.
your story. All right.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it, Yana.
Well, we're going to close out. So do you have any final remarks for everybody?
Stay crazy. If everybody tell you crazy for doing stuff, say thank you. Don't listen to nobody. Try it once, try it twice. If all else fails, keep doing it. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do, man. Just believe in yourself. And now is the best time to reinvent who you are. Now is the best time to create whatever you thought you wanted to be. Do it now, because we got nothing but time on our hands, and the way the world is moving is restructuring. Everything that I've ever learned for 30 years is out the door because it's not how it's done anymore. There are no retail stores. There's only people you need to know on social media that's going to buy your goods direct. So it's the best time to be a designer or a manufacturer or get into the business because you only think there's services that make you popular if that's what you need. You can go buy those services. So it's cheap. It's not, you don't have to buy an ad in the Source magazine so everybody can see. You dig what I'm saying? You don't have to spend a grip of money. You can go out there and buy Facebook ads and turn yourself into a multi-million-dollar brand that, you know, you and your circle know. Go and do it, man. Nothing is off limits anymore. So don't let anybody tell you that you can't do anything. I'm doing everything right now. I'm doing it all. I don't care. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I'm learning every single day because this is what we got, you know? So that would be my speech to it.
And Lance Cooper says you have been an inspiration to him. He learned a lot
That's
from
fine.
you.
It's one of the people that I've known since he was about 10 years old. And, you know, he followed me through, you know, several different incarnations of brands and branding. And he's always asked me questions. And he's, you know, he owns a construction company in the South now. But we always talk because it was always intriguing to him. So, you know, that's just the nature of the business. Like I've always tried to teach people because it's something that real. Like, I come from an era where, you know, we were supposed to be dead already 20 times.
Mm.
You know, I'm just, you know, I'm not trying to hold everybody, but we were supposed to have been in jail 20 times. We supposed to have been in dead. We were supposed to have AIDS. We were supposed to be on crack. All these things were supposed to happen, and we blossomed through that in Brooklyn. So, you know, I'm already ahead of the game. You know, if it all ended tomorrow, thank God I'm at peace with them because we're already ahead of the game. We've learned more in our education. I know as much as Tommy Hilfiger or Ralph Lauren about the business of doing business. You know, it's just a matter of dollars and cents at this point, but I can sit on stage with any of them and talk about everything from cut, make, and trim all the way down to the problem with the taxes. So that part is learned behavior, and I try to introduce everybody to doing the work. And in 30 years, it's effortless for me because I put 30 years worth of work. It feels effortless, and I love what I'm doing. You know, I've earned a living for 30 years doing this. So you can tell I'm a zealot when it comes down to this. The cult of Danny has flown to Vietnam to spit his gospel and build it. So I'm into it that deep. You know what I mean? I'm into it the same way people like sports, the NBA, the NFL. I like manufacturing, you know, hence I'm out here. I'm outside.
Well, Philip says, thanks, Danny. And I want to say thank you, Danny. And I want to tell everybody who joined tonight, thank you for joining. This video will be available. You can log on to, well, you can catch it on the Facebook or the YouTube or my event page too under gallery. So thank you again,
Yeah.
Danny Shaw, and thank everybody for joining. Have an incredible night.
Anytime. You guys have a great night.